Here we go.
I'm Craig.
I'm Steve.
It's the wine bottle. All right, you can see our setup here. This is the soft box. In the other video, we showed you the positioning of it. We moved it in and out and around. Yours is going to look very similar to this. Again, Alien B with the soft box. Wine bottle. Now you notice the shape of this wine bottle? This is called a Pinot bottle, Pinot Noir bottle. See how it's a gentle shoulder? If you were to find a bottle that's called a Cabernet bottle, it's got that hard shoulder coming off. It's going to be very difficult to have this beautiful highlight, this reflection down the side of the bottle when we have that hard shape, because it's the family of angles are going to get filled by the darkness of your room.
As a matter of fact, it's such a difficult bottle to shoot. Just don't buy that bottle. We're not ready for that yet. Yeah. We don't have the right equipment.
And for those who are curious, much taller softbox would solve that problem because of the family of angles, but we don't have that here. Also, try to find a white label. Don't choose a bottle that has silkscreen on the glass. Choose something that's a white label. This happens to be from Trader Joe's. It's an older bottle, but the $2 chuck. For those of you who are under 21 and don't want to have someone buy it for you, the bottle can be empty. It's a more elegant shot if you leave the foil on here, but the bottle doesn't have to be full. You can see I have this stacked up on blocks to raise it up. In the other video you'll see the blocks are in the shot. Not our first choice, but you can crop into the bottle a little, and it really depends on the camera you have. You have a full frame, it's a little bit wider format, whereas the crop frame sensor is a little narrower, and you could crop this out. But if we see a little bit of this, that's okay. Better solution is to cover this with black paper or cloth to hide that. So once we get our main light in position, you see a nice wrap around, a little bit of the label. The very first thing that we showed you was this piece of foam core. Very, very narrow, and it ran a very thin highlight. Not very effective. The next size that we showed you was this one. And you can see it's a lot bigger, still didn't do the job completely. Then the third one we showed you was this, and it was positioned so that it filled the angle completely on the edge of the bottle. And you can see it's adding a nice highlight here. Now you're going to have this held up by something. If you work on a little bit lower set, this can be leaning against a chair, something that is going to hold it up, maybe enlist the help of somebody, or in a pinch, you could tape a broom handle to the back of this thing and use it like an easel.
I think what I like to talk to my students too is some of them are tempted to use those big 5-in-1 pop-up reflectors, and I don't think those are great solutions. You really need a nice firm flat foam core board for this type of reflection, for that quality reflection.
Right, the shape of the board is important. Those round shapes can cause problems. Now in a different situation, if you were working in the studio where you had a lot more equipment to address the fact that the label was being a little shaded in the center, getting a little dark, using something like this. Now this is a beaded board, sometimes called glitter board. It's an Amazon purchase, a few bucks, but you would position this, angling it to bounce light from your main source into the label, making sure that you cut this down so it's small enough so we don't see the reflection in the label the way you're seeing it here. But it's a fine-tuning, an advanced technique. If you had more, tools to work with, this would be the way to attempt it. All right, now when we took our meter reading, we metered for the bottle, but to see if we could use this room, we took a meter in the background, and we found out that it was 8 stops difference. So even though the background here, as you can see, is gray, it could be just, it was so much darker, this light is not affecting it, and it went completely black. Now, when you're working in your room or garage, the best solution is to turn the overhead lights on, but you may be far enough away that the overhead lights will not affect the exposure, because when this one we're at f13 at 1/125th of a second, where typically in your room the exposure is going to be a lot darker to hold that detail. So, watch the video, first one, second one, set your shot up like this, and I will sure you have success. Anything to add, Steve?
I'm good.
Got 2 thumbs up from Steve, so we're looking good. All right, we'll see you next time.